What's going on, guys? I'm here with my second Magicka Templar build, and this is a very good build. It has a lot of sustain, it has a lot of damage. It's really good for either solo or group play. It has a lot of AoE capability. And overall, I really like it. There's a few different sets you could mix and match with this build to change things up a little bit. It's also adjustable for dueling, so it's very good for that as well. So without further ado, let's get into the stats, and I'll show you the gear after. So I'm going to just buff up my armor right here. I'm not going to be able to buff up my spell damage, but you'll be able to get a rough estimation from what I tell you. So looking at the stats on our offensive bar, we have 43,000 magic, we have 25,000 health, and 10k stamina. Now, I normally use tri-stat food. Right now I have dual stat food on, but you could swap to tri-stat and get more stamina. A little less magic and a little less health, but it's not significant. We have 50% crit, 24k spell, 2,400 spell damage. Buff, that would be about 2,900, almost 3,000. Fully buffed with our light attacks, we should have about 3,300 spell damage, which is really good. The recovery is only 800. We are running the Thief Mundus Stone, but we are able to sustain with our backup set, which is the Lich, so that helps us out a lot with controlled sustainability. We have 2.5k crit resist. If I get another piece impen, it'll be a little bit higher, but most of my gear right now is impen. 2,200, 2,300 spell resistance, 1,600 physical resist. That's up unbuffed. Back bar, let's check this out. The damage is a lot lower because my gear is not golded out here. It's not as important. This is like a buff bar. 31k spell resist, 25k physical resist. The recovery is a little bit higher. We have repentance on this bar, giving us that extra recovery. And the max stam is a little bit higher just because of the enchantment on the shield. But again, I'm using dual stat food, not tri-stat. So let's get into the gear now. So now I am using 2 willpower. I do have 1 mace. I'm going to switch this to a sword later on. But you want to get both sharpened, and ideally with a increased weapon and spell damage enchant as well as a crusher enchant. Now I have yet to put a crusher enchant on this, but I will do so as soon as possible. So that's what you want to go with. If you want to use a sword and board, it'd be a little less tanky, you can. You'll have more magic. Let's try that out. Let's just show you how that looks. You'll have more magic, but you'll have less damage. So looking at that, our resistances do go up. Our max magic goes up to 44k, but again, you lose some spell damage here. It is more tanky though, if you want to be more of a tanky kind of guy. So you could use that. Going back to my mace. Where is that? Okay, right there. So going back to my mace, I do want to get 2 swords because 2 swords will give you 5% extra damage. So right now I'm only getting 2.5% extra damage, and 5% is a lot more than 2.5. Anyway, so backup axe and shield. This could be anything, honestly. This is just a proc set. We have Axe of the Lich and we have a Shield of the Lich. Divines, decisive. The traits, ideally you'd want defending and impen, but this is what I have just because it's just what I got. It's not too it's not hard farming this set if you have friends with you, but it does take some time. Ideally, yeah, getting the axe and the shield was a little difficult, but it's not too hard. It's definitely worth the grab. So for the dungeon masks, I'm using Grothstar. You could use Valken if you want. I've used both. I really like both. Honestly, if I'm dueling, I like Valken, but if I'm playing open world PvP, I like Grothstar because the AoE damage is really good for 1vx. I am using a heavy with reinforced. If I get impen, I'll switch to that. Shoulders is medium. If I had heavy, I'd be using heavy, but again, this is impen, so that's good. I'm also getting the 2 passives, the 2-piece armor from Undaunted, so I have 6 heavy, 1 medium. So that's good. You could go 5-on-1 if you want. And then as you can see, I'm using Julianos. Now the other set I use is also Rattle Cage over here. Now if you could get Rattle Cage and all impen, that would be very good, or you could get like Sturdy on a couple of pieces. Rattle Cage allows you to get a little bit more spell damage, but less crit and less max magic, but you also get some more health. And with Rattle Cage, you can also take off entropy off your bar, so you'll be able to fit a lot more utility on your belt. So you can switch up some skills, get some more offensive capability by getting like an extra skill that you normally won't be able to fit on your bar because you no longer have entropy. So that's that. I switched between, you could use either or. You could use Julianos heavy, impen on all pieces, or you could use Rattle Cage. And Rattle Cage is acquirable from Vaults of Madness, the same dungeon you'll get Grothar from. So it's very easy to farm. And then for the jewelry, it's Lich, all spell damage. If you think your recovery is a little low, you could put like recovery enchants instead of spell damage. But my sustain is alright so far, so I'm content with that. So with the skills, my offensive bar is exactly the same as my previous build. You got your sweeps, you got your structured entropy, you got your breath of life, radiant oppression, inner light, and then shooting star. Now if I'm using rattle cage, I'll take a toppling charge and I'll put that here instead of entropy, because now I don't need entropy. Now I can have like a direct CC, which is good for like duelings too. So if I'm gonna duel, I would use rattle cage, Valken. Very, very helpful. Back bar is the same thing as always. Ritual Retribution, Channel Focus, Elusive Mist, Repentance, and Blazing Spear. This skill setup that I use, I really like it. It's very like irreplaceable to me right now. I use it for most of my builds. So it's very, very good. I haven't seen any flaws with my skills. Like, I'm content. I have all the utility and stuff I need for open world or group play. Okay, so ultimate, we have Shooting Star. I like Shooting Star in this build. It's not as necessary to have what you call it, Soul Strike, because you're not using the Soul Shiny anymore. So Soul Strike is still good if you want some single target damage, but Meteor is very good as well for getting down like groups of people. And then most of the time I'm using Bat Swarms instead. Very, very good AoE. It combos great with Grothar. So that's that. And then for this champion points, which is the last thing I have to show, I believe it's the exact same as the previous build. 16% here, 15, 37, 20, and 15. 20, 50, 100. This 50 really helps out, especially if you're using Julianos, because you got that high crit. With the Thief, Mundus Stone, and the Julianos, you get some high crit here. So you'll be critting a lot. You'll be doing a lot more damage, a lot more healing. 17, Thaumaturge. 50 here to get some base crit resist, and then 57, 60. Of course, 20 over here to get some extra healing. So you can give off some really good heals with this. So that's it for the setup. It's very, very good. I really like this. Now again, I tested it with both Rattle Cage and Grothar, as well as Julianos, Grothar, Valken, you name it. I've tried both sets, all 4 combinations. And either or, you could go with either or. They're very good sets, so you could use either Julianos or you could use Rattle Cage. It's personal preference. Do you like using this? This gives you some more spell damage. This gives you some more crit. So that's it for this build, guys. I will make some more videos soon, especially some more PvP guides and basics for new players. So if you guys like this video, please leave a thumbs up. It does help a lot. And I'll see you guys in the next video.